Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're diving into a topic that really touches so many lives, especially young people. Their world online.
It's a space that's always changing, isn't it? Full of, well, amazing possibilities, but also some pretty significant risks.
Exactly. And we've got a stack of sources here. Everything from reports on some, frankly, alarming online trends
Right.
to a really detailed government task force report looking squarely at youth online health and safety.
Yeah, that Kids Online Health and Safety Task Force report is especially interesting because it brought together so many different perspectives. You've got industry, policymakers, academics, nonprofits.
But also parents, teachers, and young adults themselves. That's key.
Absolutely, it gives it real weight.
So our mission here is to try and cut through some of the noise, understand the actual risks kids face online, maybe why some of these dangers pop up.
And what solutions are actually on the table for platforms, families, policymakers, everyone involved.
Yeah, this isn't just about scary headlines. It's about getting under the hood, understand the mechanics, the stakes, and, well, the path forward.
So let's jump in.
Okay, maybe we start with some of the really stark examples. The sources highlight these dangerous online challenges, particularly ones that seem to gain traction on platforms like TikTok.
They're definitely attention-grabbing and sadly often involve excessive alcohol use mixed with really risky behavior. It's a recurring theme.
Like the Borg challenge, when you dig into the recipe they mentioned. Oh, wow.
It's the sheer volume, isn't it? They talk about potentially mixing a half-gallon of vodka into one container.
Which the sources calculate could be like 43 standard drinks if someone actually drank it all.
Yeah, I mean, that's textbook binge drinking. And the potential side effects listed are severe: impaired decisions, long-term organ damage, alcohol poisoning.
And it's not theoretical. The material mentions an incident. 46 university students hospitalized after a Borg thing at an off-campus party.
46. That really drives the danger home, doesn't it?
It really does. Then there are these PK challenges, player knockout.
Ah, yeah, where influencers are live streaming, doing dares or games.
And the loser has to binge drink. On camera.
Exactly. The stakes are tied to getting views, performing online. And tragically, the sources link this to really severe outcomes. Memory loss, liver damage, poisoning, and even death among some influencers who participated.
That's horrifying. Just horrifying. And to nominate, that one escalated quickly too, right?
It did. Started with like downing a pint, but then morphed into chugging stronger stuff or doing dangerous stunts immediately after.
It was the combination, alcohol plus risk-taking.
Which dramatically increases the chance of injury, or worse. The sources explicitly link at least 5 deaths to this challenge, mostly young adults.
Wow. These specific examples are intense. But one source also makes a broader connection, linking deadliest TikTok challenges generally to suicides and self-harm.
Yes. And while that source didn't detail which challenges, the very fact that online trends are being associated with such devastating mental health outcomes is critical. It shows the impact isn't just physical.
It can be deeply psychological.
Absolutely.
So these challenges paint one kind of picture, it's a very sharp, specific one. But you mentioned mental health, and that connects to the wider view in the sources, especially that big task force report.
Exactly. That report steps back and reminds us that online platforms aren't just social media feeds.
Right. It's broader. The sources list things like gaming apps, dating sites, marketplaces for content, app stores, even search engines.
Basically anywhere online people interact or share stuff.
And, as you said before, the strength of that task force work is the mix of people involved. Industry, parents, kids themselves.
Yeah, getting all those voices, it leads to a more nuanced understanding of both the risks and the potential solutions. It's not just one perspective.
Okay, so looking at that wider online world, what are the big systemic challenges the sources identify for young people's well-being?
Well, cyberbullying and online harassment come up repeatedly, a major concern.
And hard to tackle, the sources note, especially outside of school.
Yeah, prevention is tricky. What works on, say, Instagram might not work on a gaming platform or for different age groups. Needs tailoring.
Then there's sextortion and non-consensual image sharing, often peer-to-peer, right?
Yes, and the material points out something really important. It's highly gendered. Girls are disproportionately the victims.
That connects to the even darker area of CSCA, child sexual exploitation and abuse.
The sources are clear. Platforms are used by perpetrators, both strangers and people known to the child, using features like direct messaging, photo sharing, for grooming, for exploitation.
And this is where AI comes in, again, in a really concerning way, according to the material.
It is. The worry highlighted isn't just that AI could create child sexual abuse material, but that it could generate so much realistic material.
That it could just swamp the system,
Right.
the detection tools used by platforms and law enforcement.
Exactly. Overwhelm them. And they also mentioned a potential legal issue that current laws might actually hinder developing better AI detection tools. It's that double-edged sword again.
That's complex. Okay, moving beyond sort of active harm, the sources also flag risks built into the platforms themselves, the design,
Right. Features designed to keep you there, maximize your time, your attention, your engagement.
like infinite scroll or those constant notifications.
Precisely. And sometimes using what they call dark patterns, design tricks that nudge you into doing things, making it hard to leave or change settings.
And social comparison features are a big one, too.
Huge. Things like visible like counts, follower numbers, friend lists.
Things kids can easily compare themselves over.
Exactly. The sources link these directly to unhealthy social comparisons, potential hits to self-esteem, and the task force heard specific concerns linking heavy social media use to depression and anxiety in teens. That design to mental health link is really emphasized.
And underpinning a lot of this is just privacy, or the lack
Yeah,
of it.
absolutely. Concerns about massive data collection location, biometrics, sometimes targeted ads based on everything you do online, data sharing.
Especially when strong privacy isn't the default setting for kids.
Right. That's a major point.
Okay, so we've laid out a lot of challenges, significant ones. But the sources do offer paths forward, right? Concrete steps.
They do. And a big focus is on the platforms themselves, this idea of safety by design.
Meaning, build safety in from the start, not tack it on later.
That's the core idea. Design age-appropriate experiences. Make strong privacy the default for minors. Reduce features that push excessive use. Limit things like likes and other social comparison metrics by default for kids.
They also push for platforms to have specific plans to fight CSEA and cyberbullying, address bias in their moderation, and offer easy-to-use parental controls.
Yes, and crucially, make data available for independent research. Though, as we noted, that's complicated. Privacy issues, proprietary data, it's a real sticking point mentioned in the sources.
What about age verification tech, like facial scanning?
The report discusses it, sees potential benefits for keeping experiences age-appropriate, but also flags real concerns about privacy effectiveness, especially if it were mandated across the board.
Okay, so platforms have homework, but families are just as central in these recommendations.
Absolutely. Huge emphasis on communication, setting healthy boundaries, and the report offers really practical advice, which is great.
Not just talk to your kids, but actual conversation starters, specific strategies.
Exactly. Like normalize setting boundaries around tech use. Protect sleep, protect family time, teach kids coping skills for boredom or tough emotions without screens.
And help them be critical consumers of content online. How to spot bad info, understand downsides. Basically, digital citizenship starts at home.
And I liked the sharenting advice, too.
Yeah, for parents thinking twice before posting about their kids.
Yes, asking permission when appropriate, explaining why they're being careful. It models consent and privacy for the kids themselves. It's smart.
And those conversation starters, they felt really useful. Not accusatory, like, let me see your phone, but more like, hey, see anything interesting online? Or ever feel uncomfortable with something someone shared?
Right. It opens dialogue, builds trust. It's about partnership, not just rules.
And finally, policymakers have a role, too.
Definitely. Calls for federal laws setting baseline privacy and safety rules, maybe restricting targeted ads for minors, requiring data access for researchers.
And supporting things like digital literacy programs in schools and communities.
Policy can help level the playing field, prioritize well-being.
So putting it all together, it's complicated, isn't it?
Yeah.
One thing that comes through is how hard it is to prove direct cause and effect. Platform use causes X harm.
It really is. Isolating the online factor from everything else, offline life, individual differences, family context, that's a huge research challenge.
And we need more data for that research, but getting it is tough.
Yep. That data access issue is a recurring theme in the sources. The need versus the barriers.
We also see different approaches being debated, Stricter regulations versus focusing on platform design or user empowerment.
The task force report acknowledges that polarization. The sense from the material is that a balanced approach involving everyone, and importantly, listening to young people themselves, is probably the way forward.
And AI keeps popping up. That potential for help and harm.
Right. Could help moderate content, maybe. but could also generate more problems, like we discussed with CSEA. It's a moving target.
And there's always that tension. How do you protect kids without squashing innovation or free speech?
It's a fundamental balancing act. The sources reflect that ongoing debate. No easy answers there.
But the overall goal seems pretty consistent across the board in this material.
Yeah, creating online spaces where kids aren't just safe, but where the tech actually supports their health and flourishing.
Making tech serve kids, not the other way around.
That's the ideal, yeah.
So quite a journey through this material. We've seen the sharp end, those dangerous challenges like Muward, and the broader systemic stuff from the task force. Cyberbullying, exploitation risks, how platform design itself, like dark patterns or social comparison, can be problematic, and the privacy issues.
And we've unpacked the layers of solutions proposed. Changes for platform safety by design, policy ideas setting standards, enabling research, and that crucial piece for families' communication, boundaries, using those practical tips and conversation starters.
What strikes me is how linked it all is. Better platform design helps, but it works best alongside digital literacy at home, right? It's
Yeah.
not one magic bullet.
Exactly. It requires everyone working together, platforms, government, schools, families.
Connecting it all, it's clear this isn't a fix-it-and-forget-it's problem. It needs ongoing attention, research, dialogue.
And adaptation as the technology keeps changing.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for you, the listener. As these online worlds keep evolving with AI and whatever comes next, how do we collectively ensure that the focus always stays centered on the health, safety, and genuine well-being of the young people navigating them? Something to keep thinking about.